Hey, Dr. Ghadir, welcome to Miracles Happen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you are the first physician that I am interviewing for this podcast. And before I ask you some questions, we didn't talk about this before I hit record, I actually have a confession and an apology ahead of time. This is for the benefit of my listeners and also for you, even though you didn't know about this. So when I received an email about interviewing you for the podcast, I read that you are a physician, reproductive endocrinologist in, I believe it's North Hollywood or Hollywood?
No, I'm in Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills. Yes, even more so. And you work sometimes with celebrity, and I thought, oh boy, who is this guy? My first thought was my first experience with a reproductive endocrinologist was, well, I'll just say in my book, I refer to him as Dr. Pompous. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I thought, oh no, who is this guy? But then, and here's the apology, I mentioned to you that I saw some interviews that you have done, and gosh, you were the opposite of that.
Thank you.
You have your own story. You come across as very humble, incredibly knowledgeable, and you have all of these beautiful accolades and plenty of letters behind your name. You have a lot of training and a lot of knowledge, but I think most important for this podcast is your gentleness and humility and understanding. And I really appreciate that. So confession, and I apologize.
So now that you got me all teary-eyed, and that's another side of me, by the way, that comes out very easily, is a very, very soft side of me. Yeah, you know what? Life is way too short to be pompous, and I've been through these challenges myself. I understand what people are going through on a daily basis. I've truly dedicated my life to help people that are going through one of the most difficult aspects of their life. And sadly, for very selfish reasons, I can't tell you what I get back from doing what I do.
Yeah.
And what I get back from just being as natural as I can. And, my favorite line to people is I would tell my sister this, and this is how I would tell her. I'm going to just be so blunt and so forward. And for some people, it works out really well for most people. And for some people, not exact, but I can't really change the way I am. As many people who know me always say, my emotions are on my sleeve. People know exactly how I feel, and I say exactly my thoughts. And it's worked very, very well for me for most of my patients. And I love looking at the fertility patient. And I love saying fertility, not infertility, but the fertility patient.
Really? Yes.
Yes. The fertility patient as a whole. Your mind is as important as your body in this whole process. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad for everything that you do to help people. But I wanted to just give some clarity because there's some important things that come up from the medical aspect that can't be ignored as much as you're trying on all of the other aspects to keep them in well control and balanced as can be. The medical aspect of it is obviously, for me, very important.
Yes, indeed. And we're going to get into that. So that's wonderful. First, I wanted to just give a little bit of your background. I did get a bio for you that I pulled up, and now it is missing. So let me find that.
I can give a little bio if you want me to start while you're looking.
That's great. Yeah. Who are you?
So I'm Shahin Ghadir, board certified obstetrician and gynecologist, and second board certified in reproductive endocrinology and infertility. My clinic, where I'm a partner and I've been working for 16 years, is called Southern California Reproductive Center. We're considered to be the premier practice of fertility on the West Coast of the United States. I have another office in Santa Barbara as well. In the heart of Santa Barbara, we have multiple satellite offices. I go to our satellite office in Ventura County as well. But basically, the Beverly Hills location is our hub. Yes, we have treated many celebrities and well-known people, but that is not what we're all about. We're about giving the best care to every single person that comes through our doors. These days, I've been doing a tremendous amount of telemedicine and on the phone with people from around the world, giving my advice on what they're doing, that they're doing right, what they're doing, that they're doing wrong, what I would recommend, arranging for people to come here. Luckily for us, our IVF lab, which is called the Assisted Reproductive Technologies Laboratory, ART, has been known to be and recognized to be as one of the #1 labs in the country with one of the highest success rates in fertility.
Oh, wow.
Just to put this out there, just because we're located in the heart of Beverly Hills does not make us unachievable for people to come to and see. We are not the most expensive clinic in the country. We are just probably average compared to most, but our quality is top-notch excellent with one of the highest success rates. So that's something we're very proud of.
Indeed. And I think one of the things that I read about you and your work is, now, of course, I'm a mental health therapist, right? That's my trade. And so I look at the emotional aspect of things a lot, as we were talking about before. And one of the things that I've read about, some feedback, is your bedside manner and your gentleness and your ability to really connect with people. So I think that is even on par, perhaps, with statistics.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So,
I happen to agree. If you can't treat someone with dignity and listen to them and care for them at this really difficult time, there's a lot of places that has good science next to them.
Right. So I appreciate that.
And by the way, my undergraduate degree is in psychology.
Oh,
and that was my first true. So someone, one of my friends told me, God, I can't believe you're doing psych when we have to do all these pre-meds and you're doing all these extra things. But I said to my friend, I'm like, that's a treat for me. When I go to my psych classes, that was a true treat for me versus going to another biology class, another chemistry class, which had absolutely nothing to do with what I do now. Nothing at all. But the psychology aspect of what I learned, which is as an undergrad, it's just a tad, nothing like at the level of where you are, but it just opened doors and makes you think about things differently sometimes.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, absolutely. Or all the time. You think about it from a different perspective and
yes,
able to help a little bit better, I think. So wonderfully done. Yay.
Thank you.
Coming from the therapist.
Thank you.
Can you talk about, so we can talk about all your knowledge and things. I'm wondering, everybody, especially my listeners, love a background story and who people are from that perspective. And that was one of the things that I heard from one of your interviews, was that you have, and you mentioned it too here, is that you have personal experience with fertility stuff. And I wondered if you'd be willing to share a little bit of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My personal story, and I have twins from IVF in my office, not by choice, but because we had to, is not the reason I went into fertility. It happened while I was already in fertility. But when I was an OBGYN resident, I was doing my residency at Kaiser Permanente here in Los Angeles, and I really, really loved the aspect of bringing life into this world. And the obstetrical portion of it was amazing. I love the gynecologic aspect and the surgeries, but nothing like the way that it was to do a delivery. Once I got to do some rotations in the area of fertility, I realized this was for me. I have a natural ability that comes just as it is, being normal and doing nothing, of connecting and listening and caring. I think it's my ability to just connect with people and just to be truly interested. Whereas my wife sometimes would say, I can't believe, I'm like, that was so interesting learning that about that person. And it's like for most of my friends and people I know, it wouldn't be that interesting. So that ability just to learn and want to learn about people and hear their stories, I think allows for me to kind of do my job and do it really well. During the process of doing this, my oldest daughter is 11 years old, no problems at all, getting pregnant. And we got pregnant immediately when she was about 9 months and we were ready for a second baby. That became a challenge. We had a miscarriage at about 10 weeks. And after that miscarriage, we did not get pregnant for about 2 years. After doing 6 months of artificial inseminations and everything else we had to do, which was not working out to be successful, we underwent in vitro fertilization here in my own office with genetic testing to make sure that everything is as healthy as possible, because that was the most important thing for me at that time. We were very successful, and we chose to put 2 embryos back, not because we were forced to. We have twins that are over 8 years old now, a boy and a girl, and they're amazing. And life has its plans out there for you, because we have another little surprise baby who's 3 years old, and the icing on the cake for all of us, and amazing, with no fertility needed again. So not sure exactly what happened there. As a fertility specialist, I can't answer all of those questions, but we are very happy about the outcome and how things worked, and very blessed to have 4 kids at home now during the coronavirus, driving my wife and myself completely crazy, but still very, very happy.
Indeed. I feel the same. I am in my office today for the first time in a long time, because I have to be for my own sanity. Thank you.
Yes. I hear you.
I appreciate your candor and also your story. I think that, I love that you are already attracted to the fertility world, but that much more so because of your own experience, maybe. And I love, gosh, the phrase that you said escapes me right now, but something about just like this curiosity about who people are and what their lives are like, and certainly within the context of the fertility stuff, but being able to hear them and understand what they're experiencing. Sometimes there aren't any words for that, and so I appreciate that you've experienced what you've experienced, so that you can even more strongly, I suppose.
Yes, thank you.
So, to that end, can you talk a little bit about how your practice and your clinic works with people around not just physical health while undergoing treatments, but obviously psychological health, spiritual wellness, anything? How does your clinic and how do you work around that? How do you talk to patients?
For a very long period of time, I've had a handful of acupuncturists that I absolutely loved working with. And it wasn't truly because I believe that acupuncture gets you pregnant. I think it can help tremendously. But I picked a handful of people that I personally got to know that were people that when I went to their clinic for acupuncture myself, or when I went to lunch with them, at the end of the lunch or the acupuncture, it just put me in a good mood. It either reset me, cleared my mind, allowed me to go to a lunch in town with a colleague of mine and leave and go back to my office and be like, I can't wait for the next one. That's what I think was very important. So the mental health aspect of whether it's acupuncture or whether it's a therapist or whether it's your psychiatrist or psychologist, I think that having complete control to the best of your abilities over your mental well-being during this process can truly help you have success and can truly hurt you if you don't. And that's why I think it's so incredibly important to have that. I also believe in having nutritional counseling. I also believe in having, just a well-being of exercise and health and all of these things. And 2020 was a year that we started off interviewing people for acupuncture positions, therapy positions, bringing them all in-house. And unfortunately, we've had some major bumps in the road. But it is definitely on our goal to bring them in-house to offer them to all of our patients. Someone reached out to me and we put a support group together during this COVID period of things that are done just by, phone calls and Zooms. So it's something that I really believe in.
That is the kind of thing that I wish was around when I was dealing with this stuff.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. My clinic, and that might be different now, but my first clinic didn't even mention how to take care of my body while we were going through treatments. It really was, there was no conversation about it. And so it's sort of appalling to me that didn't happen, but also no counseling, no talk of mental wellness or emotional wellness.
Luckily, things have changed tremendously. I think in the last 16 years, I've been involved in fertility now for 19 years, including my fellowship program, which our fellowship program rotates through our office. So we had good experience then just observing, and 16 years of working here. Things have changed completely. I mean, it's a different world now, what we do, what we offer, what people's expectations are, what they want to get out of a clinic. And luckily, there's not just a couple clinics here and there in the large cities. And if you are from one of the larger cities, you have a lot of choices. You have choices that can be made. And during the last 3 months, when I've become rather vocal on social media and people have gotten to know my personality and gotten to know more about our clinic, I can't tell you how many people in the middle of a cycle have said, I'm switching over. She's like, and you're not even my own doctor yet. And I got a different feeling from you that I'm getting from my own doctor, and I'm in the middle of this. So I'm fortunate that, we were able to bring this light to people to let them know what's there and who they are and what they deserve during this process. So doors are open, and we have people coming to us from places that are not the closest fertility center to their home, but it's worthwhile to them to travel a little bit to be in the best care.
Yeah, the best care, including all this wholeness. It seems like just the whole person, as opposed to these are your reproductive parts. That's what we're focusing on. It seems like, and that's the vibe that I got from these interviews that I watched you do in prep for today, is that you do look at the whole person. So I really appreciate that.
100%.
Yeah. Beautiful thing. And you actually already answered. My next question was about complementary medicine. I'm wondering how that works from a Western med perspective when somebody says they want to, do the Chinese herbs, they want to do whatever, acupuncture.
Right.
Right. What do you?
Yeah, I think it's such an important aspect because it's so prevalent right now. You have to bring West and East to meet each other somewhere in a happy medium. Mm-hmm. So I have my firm beliefs about how that works. I tell my patients very clearly, if you go to an acupuncturist and you're leaving there more stressed out and uncomfortable, if you have an acupuncturist that's trying to push you to take like a 6 months off or a year off to do acupuncture before your fertility treatments and only cares about, pushing herbs on you that they sell in their practice, that's probably not the right fit. If you're going to an acupuncturist that you just like fall asleep and wake up and you're completely reset, you feel like giving that person a huge hug on your way out. And if that's person that you're exuding positivity and caringness and love towards you and that extra support that you need during this time, that's a perfect acupuncturist. And not only acupuncture in terms of that, but like I said, I have some nutritionists that are almost like life coaches. I have some life coaches that are truly the rock for people to lean on during this process. So you have to find what works for you. And that's what I try to help people. If it's, if you're dealing with a weight issue and you have a nutritionist that's making you feel horrible about yourself and not giving you the support that you need, wrong person. But if you have someone, whether it's a trainer or a nutritionist that's there and making you feel good about yourself while achieving something that is so difficult, that for me is really important.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And we are so in line that because everybody's different. Like there's some people that are completely not at all interested in acupuncture. My son asked me the other day, how do you handle the like needles in your skin? He's like, no, acupuncture wouldn't be for him. Right.
Right.
But it completely depends on the human. And I love that about your work is that you ask people to pay attention to their inside. What does it feel like when you're with that person? Beautiful. I love it. The doc, I'm sorry, Dr. Pompous. I remember walking into his office one time and knew that, okay, this isn't the right fit because on his door was an article about why acupuncture decreases IVF success. And I feel like I needed to run away screaming at that point.
So it's interesting because there have been studies that have come out that have shown that. Mm-hmm. But of course, there's studies showing the opposite as well. Yes. I tell everyone, you can find a study to support whatever you're trying to prove in medicine and in the world. And there's so many studies out there that have shown this and then shown completely the opposite. But that's why I tell people, you're not doing this because you're a study element. You're a human being. So if you leave there feeling good and great and you liked it, it's right for you. And if you're not, you're either at the wrong place or it's just not right for you. And there are people that acupuncture is not right for them.
Right. Yes. I also had an acupuncturist who was not just no bedside manner, but I was checking off boxes, right? Do all the things.
Right.
So that was a box to be checked off. Didn't feel right. I did it anyway. And it was not right. So I appreciate that you highlight that for people. Thank you. I just want to switch a little bit now to the male perspective. If you could give that, I know that you are, you're one of the top docs around egg freezing, right? Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, we do a lot of egg freezing and we've had some phenomenal success stories about it.
Yeah. So I'm wondering about the other end. We can certainly talk about egg freezing too. I'm curious about that. But especially from a male and also someone who works with heterosexual couples and gay couples, right? So I'm wondering from male perspective, if there's anything specific that is unique to your practice or you, or any insights that you can offer for.
Well, the biggest insight that I could give people is that it takes, in my office, 3 to tango. So it doesn't actually. We've had multiple patients in my office, single men and single women, that we have helped have beautiful families. Mm-hmm. But I think that the attention needs to be equally placed on both people. Whether it's 2 men, 2 women, a man, a woman, everyone involved in this equation of getting to a beautiful, healthy baby is equally involved. And there are issues where we have major sperm issues, and we tell men that they have to work on that as well. I don't ignore that. And I have had people, I had a horrible story when I was in training, when in the hospital where I worked, one of the doctors allowed for 1 year of timed intercourse at home and giving medications to a patient without ever checking the male partner to realize he had zero sperm.
Oh,
So
boy.
I learned a big lesson from observation there. Never want to make that mistake myself, but from observation alone, we realized that the male and the female have to be checked with everything they do. And we do that from the beginning. So from the very, very early get-go, I make sure that everything is checked off before I make a plan. The other day, I had a patient call me for a second opinion. She's done 6 months of artificial insemination, but she never had a check of her tubes. And I said, well, how do you know it's not, you had a C-section? You said you had a little bit of an infection afterwards as well. How do you know it's not your tubes? And why did your doctor do that for you? And she was just speechless. She's like, I didn't even think about that. I think that's bad medicine. So men and women equally checked up. Obviously, for the man, it's very easy to check their fertility, much more complicated for a woman, but we do everything before making an overall plan for people.
Yeah. Yeah, good. I'm also wondering about, how you support men in the process when, in a heterosexual couple specifically, when women are undergoing all these physical, treatments, I say things that are, quite intrusive at times. And he's kind of like, what can I do about that?
So they can do a lot. Support is probably the number one thing I ask from the male partner during this process. I remember how much my wife had to go through and how easy my portion was when we had to go through the IVF. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say that it's, I don't want to discount our gay couples, because I've had gay couples. I had one gay couple that came in, both males had zero sperm. Mm-hmm. One was missing a vas deferens, which is the tube that brings the sperm out, and one had gone into early testicular failure. So it's not just the heterosexual or gay issue in this situation. It can affect anyone. Mm-hmm. Any male involved with fertility has and to be very honest, when we went to the miscarriage, I was devastated. I think maybe more than my wife was. Mm-hmm. And I used to just tell my patients before that miscarriage, oh, it's a miscarriage, you'll be fine, you'll get pregnant again, don't worry, blah, blah, blah. And never again did I say that to anyone, because it was so devastating what we felt going through it, and so not fun and so not expected. Mm-hmm. So I want everyone, male or female, we kind of treat equally during this process. And if at that moment the spotlight is on the female, then we need to give support to that person. And if at that time I have people going through this because it's purely the male issue, then the attention needs to be given to the male as well.
Perfect. Yeah, because it could be 100% male factor, right? And so, I appreciate that balance. So now we talked a little bit earlier about egg freezing, and it's related to age stuff that I was going to get into next around female age. So many of my listeners are, 40 plus, and I'm wondering about, they didn't freeze their eggs when they're in their 20s and things. So I'm wondering about thoughts or comments or insights you have for them.
So I would tell everyone, if you're still interested in having kids and you've hit 40, see a specialist immediately. Okay. If it's not a specialist that specializes in seeing women in their 40s and they just tell you, nope, it's not a choice for you, then find someone else that does. We have had multiple success stories of women that have been 43, 44 years old, freezing their eggs, who made that one beautiful embryo that gave them the most unbelievable child in the world. So I would never close doors onto anyone. You have to find the right doctor that can help you, but you absolutely have not one day to waste, and you need to get moving on it right away. There are lots of options. And to be very honest, if for any reason your own eggs are done and there's no chance, and the chances are beyond slim, the technology of using an egg donation, for me, is one of the most unbelievable technologies that's out there. It has changed so many lives of my patients and allowed them to have families, not just of one, but of 2, 3, 4 kids when their own eggs were not there. And it just doesn't allow your dream to be put aside. And I want people to be open-minded, because sometimes that idea of holding on to your own idea of making sure it's your egg, and if you can't let go of that and move on from it, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot and not allowing your dream to come true. So there's different balances, and it's not right for everyone, but you have to discuss it with someone who's open-minded and can teach you the true benefits of it.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering if you can expand a little bit. This is where I love that sort of gentle directness that you have around helping folks move to that next thing if they're open to it. So how do you know for a woman with her egg quality or non-existent eggs or whatever, how do you know it's time?
Because every single woman who has failed IVF or is at an age that we see that their egg reserve numbers are just diminished and very low, I like to let everyone try if they want to try. I realized very early in my career, you just can't tell someone who comes in and whose egg reserve is the lowest level, oh, you got to move on. It's a process to get through. So you got to balance it though, because you have to look at the emotional, you have to look at the physical, you have to look at the financial. So if these are limited, you better make an overall game plan from the beginning. Usually what I like to tell, what I've noticed that works is that people need to try at least one time to see how they do themselves. And from that process, then we need to make a game plan. And the biggest hurdle and comment that I hear that keeps people from moving on is, well, that's not my child. And my clear answer to everyone is very similar. And the answer is that, you're selecting your egg donor. It's an egg donor of someone that you want, that we bring in and we screen and check. And if it's not good, we can't use. So it's you're the decision maker there. Then we're putting that egg with the male sperm to make the embryo. And then we're genetically testing to make sure it's healthy and it's fine. And then that embryo goes back into your body. It's your soul, it's your blood, it's your uterus, it's your life creating life. How can you say to me that that is not your child? That child would never exist in this world if it weren't for you and your decision that you're making at that time and all the steps you're taking. So it's impossible. Yes, it's not your egg. You're absolutely right. It's not your egg, but that child is your child and no one else's child that I can think of in this entire world. And that usually makes people start to think.
Yes. Yeah, that creates some movement around possibility, right? I mean, you're talking to an adoptive mom here, so DNA not necessary.
No. I don't know if it's a horrible or a great example. We have dogs that we absolutely love to death. It's not our egg and it's not our sperm, but we love our dog. We love our pet so much. What makes you think that after 9 months of something growing in your body that comes out as a living soul, a human being that you created, you're not going to love it? Because I've had that comment that people have told me, what if I don't love this baby like my own biological child?
Most of the time.
But I tell people, in my 16 years of doing this, I've never had one person, not one person come back other than beyond thankful. Beyond joyful, and the amount of gratitude being much higher than all of my other patients who have gone down that path. Everyone who's ever gone down that path has never come back to me sorry, ever. They are my most grateful patients.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I've been doing this 15 years, so it's the same vibe. It's the worry, I'm not going to love this baby the same. Other people aren't going to love this baby the same. My parents, my in-laws, my whomever, and I won't connect with this baby. It's the same thing. And at the very end, it's like, wait, what was I thinking? I don't.
Yep. I have had patients of mine that have had 4 kids from an egg donor batch of embryos. And they call and they laugh. Yeah. And they laugh at themselves and what they were thinking and what they were doing. They just literally laugh.
Yeah. How could I have been in that space? And yet it's okay. You were, and perhaps
it's a process. It's a process you have to go through, and you have to get there mentally. No one can force you to get there.
Right. The forcing is the hard part. I actually have worked with folks who are trying to force themselves to get into egg donation or just gamete donation headspace, and it doesn't feel right to them right now. And so, the forcing is an issue too. So can we just talk a little bit about egg freezing?
Absolutely. My favorite thing.
Yes.
So egg freezing is amazing. It changes women's lives. And I got to say, women unfortunately get the short end of the stick, and their fertility is on a timeline. And if you're not proactive at the right time of your life, then you're going to be dealing with that decision of the egg donor down the line, which is a difficult one for many, many, many people. When when egg freezing came out about, let's say, 10 years ago, everyone was rushing in here the month or two before their 40th birthday, freaked out. And now I'm so proud to say that we get women in their 20s that are doing it. The majority of our patients are now coming in once they hit 30. Like, they hit 30, they realize, okay, I'm right now about to start my career, and I don't have a desire for kids, nor do I have the opportunity of kids. So people are doing it at a much younger age, which is giving much, much, much better outcomes in the long run.
Yeah, the education is getting out there.
Yes.
Which is so encouraging.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. And so I'm not up on the science behind it. Are there new technologies since?
Yeah, there's been, the technologies from what they were have changed tremendously. With the flash freezing process and the technologies and every little thing that we've done in our labs to improve this entire process has changed it tremendously. And now it does incredibly well. It's sad. We still have people that freeze eggs and none of them work, but then we also have people that freeze 2 eggs and get a beautiful baby out of it. So again, I tell everyone, because this question is always the same, when should I do this? I always answer, the sooner the better. Your youngest egg, the most number of eggs, that's the time you want to do all of this.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. Wondering about any words of hope that you can offer people who are experiencing fertility stuff. Any additional just random thoughts that you have that you feel like?
We are here to help. I've noticed my practice grew so rapidly when I started going into this arena of fertility. You have to have a fit. You have to have someone who you can trust. You have to have a clinic that you know is good, because sadly there are a lot of clinics out there that their statistics are not good. Their technologies are using the cheapest of everything, the worst of everything to make it most profitable for themselves. We have done completely the opposite. We have built the best IVF lab, one of the best in the entire country, which immediately makes it one of the best in the world, since the US is at the top of the fertility game. I currently it's been 16 years of working with staff, and we have such an amazing team here right now. It takes a village, and we have the best village right now, like a village that I love to create that family. And I think that it's one of those things that you cannot waste time.
Yeah. How does one know if they have a quality clinic or not?
So there's a lot of things. First of all, I think that reading reviews is really important. However, be very careful, because a lot of the reviews, I can tell you for myself, like a lot of the lower and bad reviews I had were of people that there was some clear issue with a patient from the beginning. So be very wary of it. But then you get to see a gist of things and a trend of things coming up. So looking at the reviews, but there's some smarter places to look for them rather than just on Yelp. And to be very careful to look at the Society for Assisted Reproductive Technology success rates, SART. Unfortunately, again, it's not monitored with a police officer from SART in all the offices, and some clinics who are the cheapest and in parts of town which aren't very affluent are putting numbers that just don't make sense with their success rates. And then I think that many people these days are talking to more than one doctor to see who's a good fit for them. So I would read about the doctors. Now, the best thing is that you could see online and see their interviews and see their answers and see if they have any life online. If they're hiding, maybe that's not the greatest thing, but maybe social media is not their thing. It just depends. I think you got to look at this cumulatively. And one of these days, when you meet with someone and you really like them and you get the good vibe from the clinic and their statistics are good and their reviews are good, you're going to know it's the right place.
Yeah, I wondered about that. So you invite folks into your office just to get a feel for who you are, what your clinic is like, how you run things, so that they can
determine. So before COVID, we used to have these amazing events where we had between 100 and 150 people show up for our patient educational evenings. And then we used to give tours of the office, and you could make your appointment then, and you could talk to the doctors. Now we're doing them by webinars, and they're still going really well. The webinars are great. You get to see, your doctors talk for about an hour and learn so much about fertility. I think that the idea of doing the Instagram lives that I've been doing lately have been a great opportunity for people to learn about me and to see me and to hear me, to hear my voice and to see the path that I want them to take. It's been a really eye-opening opportunity.
Yeah, that's a beautiful benefit of social media. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's
If
like
used in the right way,
if used in the right
I
way,
realized it could be really, really powerful.
really powerful and calming, I think, for people. Even me looking up who you are as a human and physician, I found a lot of good info on social media.
Thank you. I'm so glad. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Ghadir, thank you so much for.
This was a pleasure. I love this. I could go on and on and on, but yes, thank you so
Me
much.
too.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I
Absolutely.
cannot wait to be able to use this video and put it for all of my audience to look at it as well, because I thought it was such perfect questions and timely questions. And I find you and your demeanor to be amazing, my dear. I thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate that very much. Well, yeah, we can talk for days, I'm sure. There's so much more I'd like to know, but until next time, maybe.
Yes, I like that. Let's end it on that note. Until next time. Thank you, my dear.
I appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.